Hey everyone, Foxx from modelmaking.guru here. Hello and very welcome to the next instalment of my build series of the awesome 1/3 scale Iron Man Mk.III Armour partwork from my good friends over at Fanhome. I'm building up this model issue by issue over the coming 2 years, and you can join me as I try not to screw up the gorgeous paintwork too much. Now, before we get going, I need to explain that I'm still caring for Mama Fox while she recovers from a serious illness, and so for the coming months I'll be using a different, more compact, efficient filming format with quick cuts and lots of voiceover work, purely because it's impossible for me to guarantee long periods at the bench right now, which I'd need for my usual live talking style. At least this way I can still get content out to you. And as always, I need to explain that this partwork has been provided to me at no cost by the good folks at Fanhome. They've got no creative input into the videos and all opinions are my own, but they are providing the partwork. If you don't know who Fanhome are, here's a quick video. Now, let's crack on. In this video, I'm going to be working through issues 3 to 6. I'm not going to go through the magazines for you, but they are chock full of tons of lovely background and history of the Iron Man character and lore. With these issues, we get a good selection of plastic and metal, with the biggest packs relating to the 2 hand assembly issues. Guthorm does not, of course, come with this partwork. He's just there. As always, I'll be using my usual partwork tools and stuff for the build, my super duper tidy tray that holds all the spare screws and such, all sorted and separated, and my floofy blue Dodo Juice fantastic fur towel to protect the paintwork from scratchage. My own screwdriver set and magnetic mat. I find this driver more comfortable than the included partwork screwdriver, which I'd lost anyway. And also a spare screwdriver from my Fanhome Dodge charger bill, which comes in handy for smaller screws here and there from time to time. This and the tidy tray, or close similar items, are all available in my Amazon stores, links in the description below, if you want them for your own build. As an Amazon associate, I do earn income from qualifying purchases. Now, let's get building. Issue 3 sees us starting with the right hand assembly. We begin with the fingers, but beware of the odd numbering scheme on these parts. It explains this in the magazine. The parts have a joint number from 1R to 5R in groups, and also individual numbers from 3C to 3P for each specific piece. Pay careful attention as you assemble them. We start with the thumb, which only has 2 parts, 3C and 3D. Making sure they were aligned correctly with the knurled edge on 3D's joint tab at the bottom, they were attached with a CP screw. This is why I prefer this screwdriver. Its rotating barrel makes tightening screws up effortless. This screw is going into plastic, so I'm careful not to over tighten it, just tight enough to avoid the joint being floppy. Next up with the 4 fingers. Now, I'm not going to show each one, but they all followed the same process. It's again important to make sure the joints are in the right orientation, knurled edge down, as the pictures in the magazine can be a little vague. It's also vital to follow the build order in the magazine, starting at the tips first, as each joint uses different length screws for different joints, and it's very easy to get the wrong screw in the wrong joint and risk damaging the joints. Again, I simply joined each piece and attached it with the relevant CP or FP screws, just tight enough to avoid floppy loose digits. They should hold a pose. With the fingers done, it was time for the palm and this gorgeous metal chonky boy here. Quite a simple step. I simply attached the light diffuser screen with a couple of BM screws. Now note here how I dip the screws into that little pot. That's basic 3-in-1 oil in there, and a tiny amount of that on the tip of the screw makes it settle into the thread easier with less effort and less friction. This is only for screws going into metal though, which are always labelled as M screws, such as BM, CM, DM and so on. All the other screws are P screws such as AP, CP, DP, etc, which go into plastic, so no oil is needed for those. The oil is, of course, available in my Amazon store. To avoid damaging the plastic part, I tightened the screws most of the way, then once both were in place, I tightened them fully to ensure equal pressure across the plastic. Now the next step was to insert the battery box and switch into the back of the hand, but here there may be an error in the instructions, so you may not want to build it the way they suggest. The image for step 2 shows the power switch this way around, with the wires sticking out of the bottom of the unit. However, if you insert the switch the other way around with the wire sticking out of the other side, then the wires will go into the hand a little neater and match the image for step 3. The battery box was then inserted into the back of the hand with the power switch poking through the small hole. And was fixed with 2 BP screws. You can see how the black and white wires are on the other side to the red and black wires, which is impossible if the switch is the other way around. The circuit board sits loosely in place at this point. Next, the thumb and fingers were installed into the back of the hand. Followed by the plastic wrist socket piece. Then the metal palm assembly was carefully pushed into place over the rest of the hand and fixed in place with 3 AM screws. Making sure the 3 screws are nice and tight will help avoid any floppity fingers. When that was done, one of the button batteries that we received in issue 2 was pushed carefully into place in the battery box, taking care to get the polarity the right way around. And voila, we have the glowies! Lastly, the battery cover was screwed lightly into place with an EP screw, magnet side up. And the back plate was simply snapped into place with its magnet. That completes issue 3. Next up is issue 4, which creates the iconic arc reactor. Not too many parts for this, and minimal elastic trickery. I installed plastic inner ring 4G into the crown, which is the large, lovely metal piece. It snaps in with 2 pins. Dropping parts is a contractual obligation. Then the reactor cover was dropped in place and secured down with 2 AM screws. Again, as these are going into metal, a touch of oil was added to the screws to help them settle easier. To avoid uneven stress on the plastic piece, as always, the screws were only fully tightened once they were both installed. Then the LED on the internal wiring was popped through the LED support and the support was placed over the housing. The clear cover was added loosely. The floofy Dodo Juice Fantastic Fur Towel is perfect for defingerprinting clear things. And then the housing was fixed to the crown assembly with 2 AM screws, again with a dab of oil to make life easier. Another of the CR1025 batteries received in issue 2 was inserted into the battery compartment. And the battery cover was screwed into place with a BP screw, the button poking through the hole. Make sure the cover is the correct way around. With that done, a quick test and voila, we have glowies and issue 4 is complete. Next is part 5 and we start on the arm assembly, only a few parts this time. First, the 2 washers were placed on the posts inside the elbow cover, which looks like some sort of pre-Cambrian invertebrate or a croissant. Then the arm joints were put into place inside the elbow cover, making sure to get the right ones in the right place. And that actually completes issue 5. Note that nothing is fixed in place here and it will all just fall right apart when moved. That's fine. And lastly we come to issue 6, where we complete the elbow joint we started in issue 5. Again, only a few parts here. First, the elbow armour connector was installed at the top of the Precambrian elbow cover. The 2 washers were loosely placed over the arm joints. The magazine says to put these on the posts on the other side of the elbow cover, but they'll fall off when you assemble everything. I find doing it this way makes life easier. Then the other side of the elbow cover was popped on, and everything was secured with 2 GP screws. I adjusted the tightness until the arm joints stayed in place and were not flippy floppy. And with that, issues 3 to 6 are complete. All fairly straightforward assembly and nothing too scary lighting wise. Now you may have seen earlier that on the tip of one of the fingers there was a dirty great white paint chip. This isn't down to me sadly, this is how it came. However, it's not that big and it may be that I had weathering, scraping and damage to the suit once it's finished and that would hide it nicely. And besides, I'm sure I'll add many paint chips of my own as the build goes along anyway. Anywho, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Again, a big fat thank you to the team at Fanhome for making this possible. If you fancy this partwork yourself, links are in the description below the video. Make sure to use the promo code Tony Stark. That will really help me out. Until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe consider supporting this channel and helping to keep it alive by becoming a channel member. Hit the join button below, or going to my Patreon page and becoming a patron. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and adios amoebas.